you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
We're broke.
The country is broke.
So we are going to see Elizabeth Warren win the election. She will not win a brokered convention. It's going to be Joe Biden. That is going to be the nominee. Bernie Sanders is going to get screwed again. And Elizabeth Warren is going to be Joe Biden's running mate. Joe Biden is going to want to get women to vote for his campaign. The big selling point that Joe Biden has is that he passed the Violence Against Women Act. So the reason why he hires Warren on plays identity politics. So he passed the Violence Against Women Act. You see that? Violent crime control. So he was taking part of, private prisons and electing people with draconian drug laws. He was part of that corrupt establishment. But the Violence Against Women Act is going to be his big selling point this election, and that's why Elizabeth Warren's going to be his running mate. They're going to get the women vote out there, and they're going to completely destroy Donald Trump by getting the women vote. And that's how the Democrats are going to win. Also, it doesn't help that the coronavirus may end up causing a crash throughout the 2020s. We're going to see an economic crash this year before the end of Donald Trump's presidency. We are not ready to handle the coronavirus. They have not gotten ready for that yet. He voted for Iraq. Don't forget that with Joe Biden. Joe Biden voted for the Bush tax cuts. Joe Biden is complete fraud for the establishment. And what you see here is that in some way, somehow, Joe Biden's going to shock the world. We can see many things play out here, where we see President Elizabeth Warren that Joe Biden's going to suddenly resign and he's in poor health or whatnot. Or he's going to resign and say that the Democratic Party needs a woman to win the election. So what would Joe Biden do if he doesn't get the nomination? How would we get President Elizabeth Warren? In a brokered convention? Because if there is no clear majority, then that is going to happen for this Democratic National Convention. It's going to be a brokered convention where anyone could take it. And so, at the event that it's most likely Joe Biden, what could happen if Warren doesn't win the brokered convention is that she is going to be Biden's running mate and end up replacing him at the moment that the CIA stages an assassination and blames it on Russia. It's Biden's running mate, it's President Warren that have the same simple and Pythagorean gematria. So if Warren is Biden's running mate and he gets assassinated, then this is where you get President Warren. But then Biden's death could be blamed on Russia. That Vladimir Putin, America, the elites are telling us that Vladimir Putin and Russia are trying to help Bernie Sanders. So what happens if Biden beats Sanders? Then apparently, according to these elites, they're telling us what's happening, that Russia wants Bernie Sanders to be the nominee. And I think the elite are trying to get you to be afraid that Russia is trying to instill communism in America. So that's the whole show game played by the establishment. That's how they're trying to smear Bernie Sanders. They're trying to completely smear his campaign and send us back to McCarthy years in the Cold War. But the Simpsons predicted Elizabeth Warren. They already did, just like they predicted Trump. Joe Biden's assassination would be blamed on Russia, and that's what would give us his running mate, Elizabeth Warren. And now Joe Biden, if he were to die before the election, which I certainly believe can happen, we're going to see a big event triggered here in 2020. Joe Biden is 77 years of age. So he would die when he's 77 years of age. That would be before the election. His birthday is right after the election. So Biden's going to be 77 years of age. It's Book of Revelation. It's Elizabeth Warren. It's the fake progressive Elizabeth Warren that equals 77. This is how we can see her end up being the president at the moment that Joe Biden is assassinated or loses a brokered convention. Stock market crashed before the 59th quadrennial election in 2020. It's Warren Biden, that's 59. But take a look at the whole scripted election, where you have the pussy grabber, where you have the misogynist, Donald Trump, losing the king of debt, losing the election to a woman and a bankruptcy lawyer. That's who Elizabeth Warren is. She's a bankruptcy law professor, and she ends up beating the king of debt. That the woman is going to beat the pussy grabber. And understand that Joe Biden being the nominee and all is all part of the script, part of this rigged wrestling that we have with this WWE election, where Trump is impeached for trying to dig dirt on Joe Biden through a foreign government, try to bribe a foreign government to do that. He tried to dig dirt on Biden. He tried to bully him, and now Biden, being the front runner and most likely getting the nomination, Joe Biden's going to beat Donald Trump under that script. That Biden's going to beat him after Donald Trump abused his power to dig dirt on him. This is how this election is scripted. And then Warren fights back against Donald Trump, and she ends up beating the king of debt, the bankruptcy law lawyer, the bankruptcy law professor. It's Warren, it's Ukraine, it's Democrat, that's 79 and 34. It's November the 3rd of the year 20, that equals 34. It's Biden, that equals 34 and 25. It's Trump, it's Moscow. But you see that Elizabeth equals the simple gematria of Moscow and Trump, which is 88. How about the 117th U.S. Congress? This is happening from 2021 to 2023. It's the first female U.S. president, Senator Elizabeth Ann Warren. Vice President Warren, you see that? That's Vice President Warren, so she would be the vice president right before the moment that he's assassinated. Joe Biden, World War III, 117. Who could kill Joe Biden? It can be a right-wing extremist. It can be a right-wing terrorist. Russia and Vladimir Putin can just hire one in America to kill Donald Trump. It would be blamed on right-wing extremism, and it wouldn't be Russia itself, but then they can go ahead and blame it on Russia, and the CIA can help the guy kill him, and then the CIA can say that Russia hired the hired agent to kill Joe Biden because they're trying to start World War III and to blame it on Russia. That's what would happen with this right-wing terrorist killing the Democratic nominee before November 3rd, 11-3. Or it could happen right after the election. This can happen right after an election of Joe Biden. And we can see Elizabeth Warren sworn in as president before Inauguration Day. And regardless, he's going to lose re-election. But this is happening before the election. Notice how the news are saying that Bernie Sanders is, they're trying to help his campaign in Russia. It's Putin, it's Sanders, that's 80 and 26. Notice that killed Biden in Russia and inside job equal 87. We can see this happen, and we can see this event blamed on the Russians. Elizabeth Warren has war in her name. What is going to happen to Joe Biden? Check this out. Check this out. It is death that has gematria of 38 and 20. This is the year 20. Joe Biden's birthday, November the 20th of his birth year, 1942 is his birth year. So 1942, that's a birthday numerology of 20. That is the gematria of death. Is the birthday numerology of Joseph Biden. And this is the year 20 that we're talking about. Joe Biden's running mate, Elizabeth Warren, replaces him after he gets assassinated by Russia. A right-wing extremist could carry out the job hired by Russia. It could be staged by the CIA and Russian intelligence themselves. And Vladimir Putin and whatnot wanted Bernie Sanders to run against Trump. And Vladimir Putin does not want Joe Biden to beat Donald Trump. It's like Vladimir Putin shouldn't really think that Bernie's going to lose against Donald Trump. But if he thinks that, I suppose, well, I mean, Here's the thing, is that he wants Donald Trump to run another 4 years, and if he wants him to run another 4 years, then you hire a centrist. He could get caught up and think that Bernie's not electable, Vladimir Putin, and that may end up being his mistake, because Bernie polls at 8% against Donald Trump, but American voting systems are also rigged as well. The vote count is completely rigged and fabricated. So don't be surprised if we see World War III happening here. Russia is going to tie into their strategic position throughout the East. Trump dropping out all the soldiers in Syria, and Russia is there, and they get resources. And Vladimir Putin went out and tried to get Donald's administration to lift sanctions against Russia. Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to weaken and destabilize NATO so he can make it easier to invade over there, because he wants his greater Slavic state. And this is what we're about to see here with these next events here. You got to stick with The Simpsons. And this is about to get really wild right here.